Composing gloves here. Today we are taking a look at Rando. It is the random sampler. You give it your sample library and it will give you back just some samples you may have not heard of in a long time. So we'll go ahead, we'll hit it. I've already pointed it to the folder and you know, everything, the loops, the samples, things in folders you didn't even know you had because you downloaded them so long ago or they're nested so deep. Let me show you how we could kind of control this a bit. We could give it a specific search, like say we want kicks. We hit Rando. Say I find one I like. I can hover over it and hold down, and then once I drag off, I can bring it into my session, and away I go. Say I want to know where it's at. I can right click on it and go to show on disk. This thing is on the external drive, and this is a huge folder. Black Octopus Sounds. It's in one of the packs. It's in a subfolder drums and another subfolder one shots and kicks. So this just gives you a way to find things meaningfully, but still random. And it makes browsing really nice. You find things you're like, I didn't know I had this because it's part of some set of packs you bought ages ago, or it's part of some recordings you did ages ago. One of the interesting things to do with this is to go into the sample locations and give it your contact instruments. If you have sample libraries, a lot of them have a ton of samples, right? They're sampled instruments. Some of them you can't get to because they're underneath like a compression format that's, you know, proprietary to Native Instruments, but a lot of them don't. A lot of them just using waves, especially if they were free. And when you go into search, look at this. This is freaking crazy, dude. When you go into search, you can include these in your search. And then I can say, hey, find me, you know, a brass instrument. And I should say that the plugin slows down a bit here because this folder right here is like 3 terabytes big. I think it might be 4. It's huge, and it shocked me how quickly it scanned it. I thought it was going to take hours. It took like 10 minutes, which is shocking to me. It's just crazy to me. So I'll type in brass, give it a sec, because this is very big, and you can see it's scanning everything. So we'll hit Rando, and let's see what we get, right? This is going to include all these brass instruments I have now, and this is on another drive. I hardly ever browse instruments over here as much. Usually the main stuff I'm using will be on this drive. This is like the important instruments drive. Yeah, it's awesome, man. Where is this? You can see it's got a Deca tree mic setup in the name. So let's really quick just see. Like the chances of me going to look for this on my own and stumble across it while I'm working is so much lower. This is in an 8DO. It's in they're a sample library maker, and it's in a brass, the Cage brass, and it's just look at all these. This is somewhere I would just never look. This is the magic of Rando, and it has a lot of options for effects that are really cool. They really thought about it as a sampler. Like if you have loops, it's got ways of working with loops and tempo seeking loops. It's got a sequencer in here, and you can export the sequence, the MIDI and the audio, and you can just drag and drop. I mean, they've really thought about what is the best way to browse your samples. And it's a really unique way and take on doing it. I think it's really dang freaking cool. But for me, just the browsing alone is amazing. Like we could just click here, click and drag, and I can begin to just work, and I could just use this as a window to find things. I'm like, I don't know exactly what I want, but I know it's a kick drum of some kind. I type in kick, and away we go. Let's take a look at some of the things in here. So they have some, we could go for like tonal, and you can ask it to look for things. We can look for loops versus regular things, and loops can be automatically tempo synced. You can set things per note. Let's take a look at some of the stuff here. So let's say that I want to make a sequence of kick drums. I just want a bunch of kick drums, right? I'll hit Rando. We'll use kick. We'll use the whole dang library. Why not? Okay, let's say that, hey, I want to make a sequence with these things. So we go to the sequencer tab. There's a sync option to make it so that when you hit play here, it plays here. I'm just going to go ahead and use the internal one. Oh, that's interesting. What is that all about? We'll hit stop. Okay, I don't know what that was about. An exciting moment there. So we'll go ahead and hit play. And right now it's just going through and playing all these things. And we could go ahead and hit generate and it will make up some stuff for us. There's a pretty cool macro where, let's say that we have some different notes here. If I hold control and drag, it will change all of these. And each one of these notes selects a different sample. Now we could chromatically lock one by clicking the note down here. And then we are given the option to choose a sample that's loaded via this slot. And, we could choose which one's loaded, hit play. Now, this acts like a sequencer just for this specific loaded slot. Or we could treat this as like, pick a bunch of different drums type of deal. We've got a beatboxer somewhere in there. That's just the fun of it. So we can hit generate and it will just go ahead and look through the samples and just automatically generate one. We have our velocity here and our length here. And so right now these are firing off as 16th notes and we can have a lot of steps in our sequence. We could go all the way up to, I think, 64. It's pretty extensive. Yeah, 64. And you have to click down here to go to the other slots. I am going to just stay down to 16. There we go. I was like, there's a way to type it in. So yeah, that's the sequencer. Pretty handy sequencer. You could make some cool things. You could browse. You could use this as just a way to quickly browse things. Just, generate. Find something interesting and just click drag it in. You can also, while I'm here, because they've really put a lot of thought into the way locking notes work. So if you shift click notes, you can lock them. So say these are the sequence that we want these locked. You can go to your type and then choose to only use lock notes. And when you hit generate, it will only use these. This is two effects. If you're sequencing drums, you can link the drums specifically. When you hit rando, by the way, these will stay the same. So you can randomize until you get a keyboard full of samples that you specifically want. And you can use this to scale lock. Say I've locked one of the samples and I want to scale lock something. I could still choose locked. So let me show you because they don't show in that mode. So let's right click, let's unlock all notes. Let's just say we want the notes from C to G, just as it. We could choose all the notes in D major or whatever, but we'll generate a sequence and then we'll lock it and we'll choose like a sample or whatever. And if we hit play, there they are, generate, they stay in that region. So if we had something tonal, like let's go for a brass instrument again, or let's choose something else. Let's do flute. Why not? We've already done brass. Let's do flute. So here it is. We should have a flute. And we've already locked it. We can again change our slot. Now we hit play. We'll bring this space up. What this does is it makes it so that samples that, or I should say lengths that are too long get filtered out. You see this? So some of them, they just start going away as it requires the notes to have a certain amount of space. And so, we generate, it stays in that locked position. We can unlock it to see where this is. You can also generate from all, and then you can actually choose to lock the sequencer notes if you're curious about what the notes were used. So just a lot of interesting things in terms of potential ways to browse as well as create. I mean, obviously it's probably with an emphasis on creating, but to me, there's some neat ways to browse things in here. So that's the sequencer. There's also the effects area. If we're just playing a note, go over to the next one. This is a chorus. Oh, and at the bottom, you can change the types. So there's a bunch in here. And so that there's a distortion, another distortion, one called crush, one called just distortion with different options here, delay and reverb. They all sound really great, but in the sampler itself, say I want to set an end point and a start point somewhere in here. We can set an attack. Say we give it a small attack. We can set a loop here and start a loop end and a loop start. You can transpose it, velocity, all that kind of your standard stuff. An interesting one here is the life control. It adds variation to the sample to try and make it sound more lo-fi. You can hear that pitch bending up and down. Bring this down. And it's like clean as can be. So this is an interesting one. That's like the general power of it. Just using it's really nice. There's some more obvious ones, like you get some controls. If this is a loop, it changes to a BPM sync. If it's a note, it changes to a note sync, and also stretch options. Say that I lock this. As I play higher notes, it'll get shorter. If you choose to maintain the length, it'll still transpose, but it'll make it so that, you know, it stays the same length. There's some options up here with notes, the note that it's going to be tuned to, just a ton of stuff. Super, super cool. All right, let's make a beat with it. I want you to see the workflow because it's honestly pretty dang astonishing. We're going to look for a shaker loop. Let's see, let's use the piano roll for this so I'm not like trying to click the notes here and then figure out what they are here. Yeah, why not? We'll use that. So we'll put this down and we'll have it do this twice. And the beautiful thing about doing it this way is we can use multiple loops, and we're hitting E. So let's lock this because we're definitely using that. And I should also note, if you noticed when I hold shift, a BPM grid pops up you can use to snap the loops and things. Super dang handy. Let's find another loop. Yeah, why not? I like that. So we'll go ahead, we'll put these down. And these are loops, like who the heck knows where these loops are? What am I using? This one? We'll lock that one as well. Yeah. Let's really quick just see. I'm always curious. It's down this path. Oh, this is one that I have sorted. It has made its way into the library. So there's a chance I'd come across this one, a higher chance. Where's this one at? Also made it down the library. Oh, interesting. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and add another rando. Find me some chords, or just chord. Give it a sec. It's got to look through a lot of samples here, as you can see. We will hit rando, see what it gives us. And I will follow my strategy before of using the piano roll for this. Oh, okay, interesting. Let's refine our search to include only loops. And let's do it with loops for now. A lot of these are likely coming from contact libraries. The guitar ones anyways. Or kits that I never dive into. This is stuff I just normally wouldn't look through. Anyways. That's pretty nice. Let's use that one. Oh, this is pretty long. This will be our kick guy. And while we're here, I can't remember if I said this or not, but if you click on this cog, we can choose the output. So if we want to process our kicks separately, that's an option. And also the effects are per note, so per sample. So I could have effects on one and they won't be on the others. Let's just look through these for now. We'll look for kick. This also brings up the idea of separating your locations, potentially by different amounts. And then you can like search, if you like have like folders with specific genres of samples, like, you know, Afro drum samples, house samples, you can do that. And now you can search for kick in those subcategories that you already have. And you can keep those as well as just including ones you want in other searches later with the locations thing. The locations is way more useful than I think people realize at first. It looks like this one is a loop, but I like that kick. So let's go ahead and just take the kick. Boom. We have just the kick. Amazing, right? So handy. And, you know, away you go. Let's add one more thing. One thing I do wish was in here, right? It can't all be sunshine and roses. For these samples that are longer, I don't know if a sync option, but for like the playback here. So when you hit sync, it'll link it to the DAW, and then it can use the time, the song position to figure out where it should start the sample. So if you're triggering it with MIDI and I start here, it'll know to start at the halfway point of the sample because of the position of the playhead. I'm not sure if this is something that's possible, but that's kind of like my idea. Renoise has a feature similar to that for their loops, for playing back automatically correctly. So that's kind of where I'm getting this idea from. But that would be really cool. So these MIDI notes would act almost like loop positions based on where the playhead is at. Okay, let's add one more thing. So just toss them all on. Look how big this number gets. Yeah, that's why. We search. I typed Atmos. I'm just waiting for it to pop up. Populate. Thank you. You know what? I wonder if I type something like bird. Get some nature. That's a bird? Interesting. Oh, it's because it's got bird in the sample name. That's pretty nice. And this again, I'm just kind of curious. Where is this from? Again with the weirdness there. Previews, samples, who the crap knows, instruments, pads, previews. It's in the contact instruments. Oh, interesting. Anyways, yeah, I'll take this one. This one, I think I'll you know what? No, we'll leave it in here. We'll lock it because I like that. We'll also bring the verb up to like 1 billion on it. That's the note C2. Just so you know, FL has a 2-octave shift. There's 2 negative octaves in MIDI, and that causes some DAWs to have a shift. FL is one of them because it starts at C0, so that's like octave 0. But here, this C0 is likely octave -2 in FL's. There's an offset, and usually FL has to have something added to it twice. It depends. It's not like totally standardized. Anyways, let's just see how this works out. Maybe not the best choice of sample, but it's one look at it. We can look for some other birds. Oh, this one's got birds, but it's also got like stuff on it. Nature will give us what we want. Nature, rando. Oh, I locked this. We no longer care about that sample. This is definitely nature. We keep that one. Oh, it's because nature appears in signature. We're getting a bunch of tuba stuff from some library. Oh, there we go. We got some thunder. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Where is C4? So I need to go to C6 here. That might work out a bit better. And then I'd probably reverb the heck out of that and do some things to it to make it sound longer. But anyways, that's the workflow. You go through, you find stuff you just would never find in a million years the other way. You can do sequencing in here, but I find this like workflow between the DAW has been really well thought out. This just opens so many doors. It makes your whole collection a lot more useful and valuable to you without you having to do really anything. Most other sample sorting things, you have to sort of still act as a curator to some degree. This, you just hand it the massive pile of data and it deals with it. If you have any questions about it, let me know. I believe it's $69. I just looked before I started the video to be completely clear on it. Very worth it. An incredible plugin. and also extremely competitively priced compared to other options. So definitely give Rando a try. It's really cool. And also, it really successfully moves over to also a successful sampler. Making it attractive is not just something that loads the samples, but could potentially just make its way in as your sampler of choice. If you have any questions, again, let me know. Subscribe and hit that bell icon for future videos, and have a blessed day.